back to chapter a day. Happy Tuesday. Nothing much going on Tuesday, but it's a good, beautiful, sunny day today. A little chilly. Hey, it's a fall day, but beautiful weather outside. And today we're going to be reading 2 Samuel chapter 14. Yesterday, oh my goodness, we read about some turmoil in David's household between his son Amnon, daughter Tamar, and eventually his other son Absalom. So we know the story. Amnon defiled Tamar and then threw her out like an old wash rag. And she went to her brother Absalom, who took her in. And 2 years later, he had Amnon killed to revenge his sister's defilement. So David did nothing to Amnon, but Absalom took it into his hands, had his brother killed, and David now is mourning for Absalom because Absalom fled. Absalom fled after the incident. So let's see what takes place now. Chapter 14. Now Joab the son of Zeruiah perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom. And Joab sent to Tekoa and fetched thence a wise woman and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint not thyself with oil, but be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead. And come to the king and speak on this manner unto him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. And when the woman of Tekoa spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance, and said, Help, O king. And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. So now, here's what. Now, to the end of devious people, there is none. Joab is the captain of David's army. He sees how David is feeling concerning his son Absalom, not so much Amnon. So he takes this woman and puts her up to go to David to put on a little drama to kind of bring the message to David as to what he ought to do concerning Absalom. So that's what the whole thing is about. So let's see what happens. So the woman is there doing her performance in front of David. Verse 6, And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they 2 strove together in the field, and there was none to part them. But the one smote the other, and slew him. And behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him, for the life of his brother whom he slew. And we will destroy the heir also. And so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth. And the king said unto the woman, Go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee. And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. And the king said, Whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee any more. Okay, so during the drama, she's explaining to David she had 2 sons who fought against each other. One was killed, and the family is demanding the blood of the other one for killing his brother. This is not true. She's making this up as Joab instructed her. So the king is telling her, so she's afraid she won't have an heir left, because if the one son was killed and then they want to kill the other one, what's going to happen? So the king is telling her, don't worry about it. He will take care of it. And let's see what else happens. Verse 11. Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And he said, As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall to the earth. Then the woman said, Let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto my lord the king. And he said, Say on. And the woman said, Wherefore then hast thou thought such a thing against the people of God? For the king doth speak this thing as one which is faulty, in that the king doth not fetch home again his banished. For we must needs die, and are as water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Neither doth God respect any person, yet doth he devise means that his banished be not expelled from him. Now therefore I am come to speak of this thing unto my lord the king. It is because the people have made me afraid, and thy handmaid said, I will now speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. Okay. So amidst all of her acting, she comes out to tell the king exactly what she had in mind, or what Joab, was trying to address in the first place about his own son. By saying all of this thing about water spilling on the ground and, avenging of blood, etc., she's referring to Absalom and Amnon. So let's see if the king gets on to whatever it is. Verse 16, For the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together out of the inheritance of God. Then thine handmaid said, The word of my lord the king shall now be comfortable, for as an angel of God, so is my lord the king to discern good and bad. Therefore the Lord thy God will be with thee. Then the king answered and said unto the woman, Hide not from me, I pray thee, the thing that I shall ask thee. And the woman said, Let my lord the king now speak. And the king said, Is not the hand of Joab with thee in all this? And the woman answered and said, As thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right hand or to the left from aught that my lord the king hath spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me, and he put all these words in the mouth of thine handmaid, to fetch about this form of speech, had thy servant Joab done this thing. And my lord is wise according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things that are in the earth. So, David suspected, somebody put this lady up to this thing to come to me to tell me about, my own sons and how I should deal with the situation. So he asked her, is Joab the one who put you up to this? And she confessed, yes. So let's go on. Verse 21. And Joab fell to the ground and the king said unto Joab, Behold now, I have done this thing. Go therefore, bring the young man Absalom again. And Joab fell to the ground on his face and bowed himself and thanked the king. And Joab said, Today thy servant knoweth that I have found grace in thy sight, my lord, O king, in that the king hath fulfilled the request of his servant. So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. And the king said, Let him turn to his own house, and let him not see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house, and saw not the king's face. But in all Israel there was none to be so much praised as Absalom for his beauty. From the sole of his foot even to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. Okay. So the message went through to King David. He had Joab go and get Absalom and bring him back to the palace, except Absalom could not come before him. Why couldn't he have done the same with Amnon? That is the exact treatment he should have given Amnon, that Amnon should be banished from him for a while, not see his face, and however else they chose to. He didn't deal with Amnon at all after he did that to Tamar. But here he is saying that Absalom cannot see his face. Let him go to his own house, but he's not to see the king's face. And then they described Absalom. From what they have said, he was beautiful in appearance. Seemed like he had no blemishes on him. Have you ever seen people like that? Like they just seem flawless on the outside, of course. They have no marks, no blemishes, no defects. They just look perfectly made on the outside. Okay, verse 26. And when he polled his head, for it was at every year's end that he polled it, because the hair was heavy on him, Therefore he palled it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. I don't know what kind of hair he had, but man, his hair must have just been growing. And unto Absalom there were born 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a woman of a fair countenance. So Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem, and saw not the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab to have sent him to the king, but he would not come to him, and when he sent again the 2nd time, he would not come. Therefore he said unto his servants, See, Joab's field is near mine, and he hath barley there. Go and set it on fire. And Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Oh Lord. Now he might have been blemishless on the outside, but he had a deviousness on the inside. He arranged to kill his brother Amnon. Now here he is with the dad, his king. The king, his father David, does not want to see him. That means Joab, his captain, is not going to see Absalom either. He's banished for a while. I mean, you did commit murder. Now I am saying to myself, why didn't David treat Amnon the same way? I guess you live and you learn, yeah? But anyway, Absalom has children. He named one, the girl, after his sister Tamar. That was so sweet. She was another beautiful woman. And after 2 years, he started to feel like, hey, this is enough punishment for me. Why can't I see the king's face? He sent for Joab. Joab refused to come to him. So he decided to send his servants to set Joab's field on fire. That should get his attention, right? Mercy. Verse 31. Then Joab arose and came to Absalom unto his house, and said unto him, Wherefore have thy servants set my field on fire? And Absalom answered Joab, Behold, I sent unto thee, saying, Come hither, that I may send thee to the king to say, Wherefore am I come from Geshur? It had been good for me to have been there still. Now therefore let me see the king's face, and if there be any iniquity in me, let him kill me. So Joab came to the king and told him. And when he called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. That's the end of chapter 14. I'm telling you, we will see the deviousness sometimes of some people. He did wrong, and I guess because he felt, well, the king sent for me, I have the right now to see the king's face and to go on as if everything's okay. But sometimes, you know what? When we do forgiveness of others, those people take it for weakness in you. When you have chosen to forgive and move on, they don't even appreciate the forgiveness. They take your forgiveness and your kindness as leeway of your weakness.